Hi everyone, we are back. Welcome to the first of a new series of Cinema.Engineering podcasts. I'm here with Ben.
Hi.
And Christian. And I'm Peter. And what we thought we'd do for this episode is just talk about what we've been up to for the last year, because we did, how many did we do? 4 or 5 of them?
We
only released 3.
No, 4. It was 4.
It was 4. Yeah.
We released 4. Everyone loved them, got some really, really good response, and then we just got busy. So we're now going to make some time, and we are back. So what have we been up to? What's been going on?
Whoa, Ben and I dived, I'd say, head first, which is sometimes a bad thing, depending on the depth of the water, if you've not checked. But we dived head first off a cliff into a thing called Foundry, which is what's kept us busy for the last 12 months. It's not quite finished. We're in the last sort of stages and throes of getting everything tied together. Decorative stuff takes longer than you expect. Suppliers, delays, building control, you name it. We've encountered all of it. But this is the lovely space, slightly reverberant at the moment, still.
Because we haven't finished.
Because we haven't finished, yes. But the idea was that when Ben and I met during RP22, which is another conversation entirely, podcast of its own, something just clicked, and we had a discussion about the values and the merits of RP22 and how many of the dealers and the installers in the industry, the distributors in the industry, the designers involved in the industry don't have a facility which is engineering led. It's not something that crops up in discussion very often. And we set out over a couple of beers to fix that. And I think what we've achieved so far has been great. It's been more of a lab and a learning curve than it has been a beautifully executed down to the finest stitch and detail in the sofa trim luxury experience center. It is Foundry. It is a foundry. It's a forge. It's where we iron out all the stuff, where we work through the semantics of room size versus shape versus loudspeaker versus tech versus measurements versus decor and aesthetic. It's all of that sort of homogenized in one facility.
I had a very interesting WhatsApp chat with a good industry friend the other day, and I made the controversial statement that unless you build the rooms that you design, unless you go through the entire cycle of selling it, of designing it, of engineering it, of specifying it, of project managing it, and project managing it through every single stage from it starting off as a concrete box right over to handover, unless you can do all of that, I don't think you can call yourself a cinema design expert.
Sure.
And this industry friend, he was a bit taken aback because they do lots of design, but then they do that for another integrator, and the integrator builds it.
Yep.
I mean, one of my questions always when I'm sitting with customers is, okay, who is responsible for the final result?
Yeah.
Who is responsible for the final result? And the amazing thing about this facility is, we'll talk a bit more about it in a second, but it's a partnership between 3 different companies. But I have to say, Ben and Christian have been completely amazing because they have done everything, just everything. So when we bring people here, it's not, oh, that subcontractor did that and that subcontractor did that. Ben and Christian and myself and the others, we can tell the story of every single nut, bolt, fixing, tying,
technically,
layer. And to me, that's amazing, because one of our future episodes is going to be called Everything Matters, because everything does matter. It's thousands of little things that come together to produce something magnificent. And the wonderful thing about this facility is we can tell that story.
Yeah, and there are things we've done here that ordinarily we may have used a consultant for. We may have brought someone in. So I designed the ventilation system here, the noise suppression. We had a target. We wanted to hit a specific noise criteria in the big room downstairs. And ordinarily, I would go out to one of our consultants, an acoustic partner or a ventilation M&E specialist to have that designed to that target. But there was a little bit of professional pride in doing it ourselves here to know, to have that proof. So it's easy to hire a consultant and get that result. But here we went back to basics. We proved the theory. We worked through the concepts. We designed everything ourselves. I mean, I'd say this is the last facility I'll ever build. I'm not meant to be on the tools. I'm not good on the tools. There is a little bit of me that when we stood with our own project managers, with our site staff anywhere in the world, and one of them looks at me and says, yeah, it's fine for you. You just draw it. No, I've built one, like the last big one. I'm not doing any more. I will not be on the tools ever again. If you ever see me on the tools, shoot me. But I did pick up tools here and I did get stuck in and help build it. Just for that pride of being able to tell the guys, do you know what? I can do it. I have done it. I'm not doing it anymore, but I can.
I think there's an important takeaway there. Generally, what I've experienced in the past is people fall into things. They fall into businesses. They fall into careers. They fall into things that they think they might enjoy, and they get stuck doing it. The beauty of doing what we are doing here and being hands-on from right at the beginning through to right at the end is you learn. You're constantly learning and developing things. It's not the most economically efficient. It's not potentially financially viable in terms of doing it every day for you as a business, but you've learned those lessons, and that shapes where things go in the future. If you don't know how to put A and B together, then the result is always slightly skewed because you don't have a complete understanding of how those nuts and bolts work. Speaking of nuts and bolts and your comment about bolts earlier, and again, completely off topic and possibly a topic for another podcast.
Oh, we're going to love going off topic. Don't worry.
Nuts and bolts is something that kind of shocked us because the entire mezzanine structure is put together and assembled with nuts and bolts. And quite frankly, the frequencies that you can reach with the subwoofers that are down here and the resonant frequencies that this building shakes and reverberates at lead you down the rabbit hole of thinking, crumbs, what happens if two of the nuts work their way loose from one of the pieces of joint metal or steel stud work? And what happens if that's encased in 6 layers of plasterboard and drywall and materials? And how do you stop that nut from falling off and then rattling away for the rest of its life inside something that's inert? It's supposed to be inert. It's not supposed to rattle. And that leads you on to thinking about how the nuts are positioned. You know, is the bolt on top? Is the nut at the, you know, how is there a washer? Is there Loctite on it? And those are small things. When you're dealing with a contractor on site 2-3 years down the line, the lesson that you've learned enables you to have a discussion with them and say, actually, you need to reverse the installation process for that nut or bolt, so that if something were to happen and the nut worked its way loose, you've still got the bolt sticking through the pin and holding it in place rather than the other way around. And it's an easy mistake to make, but it goes down to the minutiae of detail of what you can do. And you only get to discover that. So you've knocked your head against it.
We're going into detail of
already.
This thing that no one knows what it is. So Ben, you have 90 seconds, and I'm timing you on this to tell people what is Foundry. Your time starts now. Okay,
so I'll start with what it's not. Foundry is not the Cinema Lasso showroom, it is not the Officina Acustica showroom, and it is not Karma AV showroom. It is all of those things, plus it is our office, it is a design space, it is a lab, it is a meeting place, it's a CPD, education, teaching space. It's beautiful, it's Wonderland. So it's all of those things. It's called Foundry because it's not any one of ours. There is no product there. It is purely an engineering discussion. So you'll see no branding out, you'll see no product out. It is a collaboration between Cinema Lasso, Twisted Pair, Officina Acustica, Karma AV, in partnership with Per Listen and Ascendo Speakers. We've had some other partners kind of help us with some stuff, but yeah, there we are. That's Foundry. I'm rubbish at describing it, I guess, because it's so many things and nothing all at once. It's just a cool place. And this is about as much as you'll see if you don't come. It's a zero photography facility.
It's an invite only facility.
Yeah, this is it's almost a private members club. The only way you find out really what's here is to come.
And then you have to know what the knock on the door and the secret handshake is.
Right, first you've got to find it. We're not on Google Maps. You would need to find out where we are. You need an invite to come, and then you've got to get on a plane or get in a car or a train and get here.
Jumping into your 90 seconds, I think that speaks to the elusiveness of it, the appeal of it. You mentioned something quite important, and I think Peter and I will comment on that because we both love photography. And we've taken a decision to make this a no photography space. You might be able to sort of take a view of some of the stuff in the background, which is the not important stuff. But I think the two rooms that we have specifically and the experience of coming into the space, we'd like to keep unique. And if there are photos everywhere, it doesn't become unique. It means we need to refresh it every couple of months. It means, from a social media perspective, we need to continually put new stuff out there. And we want to keep the space special.
Yeah.
And I think already we've shown you, because you can see it on this picture, the single most important thing in this facility. People accuse me of being a beer snob. I'm not. People accuse me of being an audio snob. I'm not. People accuse me of being a video snob. I'm a little, but I'm really not. What I am is a coffee snob. And so sitting here behind Christian is a nice, shiny Italian. Or is it German?
It's German.
It's German, hey.
Yeah,
so it's probably not going to break. Beautiful coffee machine. So we've got our priorities right.
This space was really important to us. We are sat in a very residential kitchen. This was a warehouse. This is a grey standard. From the outside, there's nothing special about this building. But we are sat in a very residential kitchen. This is a really nice, relaxing place to be. Behind us, we've got our beautiful walnut table. You can sit and have dinner. We cater. Peter's son Nathan is the most incredible chef, and we will cater. You can come here for a movie and dinner. There will be Michelin star foods. Nathan is genuinely incredible. So the kitchen, this is like the kitchen is the heart of the home. Actually, this kitchen is the heart of Foundry. We've got these incredible demo spaces, but where do we actually hang out with clients? Every client we've had here, we spend hours just hanging out, chatting. We talk about discovery loads. It's a big part of our process. And this is the most relaxed place to have a coffee. We've got a beer fridge. We've got, a proper, beautiful kitchen to sit and just, it's home. It's such a nice place to
funny
be.
discovery story. I was sitting with some clients around this very table, and there was a group of 4 of them. And as one of them left, they said to me, I'm not quite sure if we were interviewing you or if you were interviewing us. And I thought at that moment, yeah, you understand. you now get what this facility is all about.
Right.
And I think it's important that we convey that point to as many of the people who get invited here as possible, because every other facility is trying to sell you something. And I say that in the most sort of blunt of facts. You go to a distribution house, you go to a dealer, you go to an integration company, they're trying to sell you something. I've said this before on one of my articles that I wrote on LinkedIn for the distribution business that we have/had in South Africa. And I always said that I was probably not a great distributor because I didn't push the envelope with sales. Yeah. I didn't always drive the sale home. I didn't nail it from the get-go. Because I'm not out there to try and sell you X, Y, or Z. I would like to sell you the experience of X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C. And that's, I think, what makes this unique. We have set out not to sell a specific product or a specific brand. We've set out to tick engineering-led, design-led,
absolutely
driven boxes that enable a customer to have a beautiful experience. Right. Sit down, watch a movie, goosebumps, and yes, cliched as you can. But when we sat through Civil War the other night, I had seen 2 or 3 clips, and I thought to myself, God, this is going to be one woke ass movie. I'm just not interested in watching this sort of thing. And we put it on, and the demo clip of the first sequence where the reporters are, and the first thing that sort of catches my eye is the amount of beautiful photography equipment that's in there. So I'm now engrossed and I'm watching it, and the audio is amazing, and the video is just spectacular. And the next thing you know, the movie's done, and it's like, I've thoroughly enjoyed that. That was an exquisite movie.
It's a masterpiece.
That's the experience. That's the experience we want to.
And I love people coming here. You know, we had a client who spent 4 days here to come into the UK and ended up actually here for 4 days. I was here with him till 1 a.m. watching movies one night. We were here till 3 a.m. He invited friends over. So he'd flown into the UK. He had some friends locally. He actually had some friends over. We watched films. We were here till 3 a.m. that day because these rooms aren't made for a demo clip. This is the room downstairs specifically. So our room upstairs is a beautiful living room. You could absolutely sit in there and read a book or drink a glass of wine. It's a beautiful space to game, to play, to do anything. Downstairs is a love letter to film. Absolutely, right? It is just, how do I remove every distraction? We have got an almost entirely black room, incredible luxury material.
I describe that room as when it's finished, as a funky black hole.
Right, absolutely. So it is a removal of distraction for good reasons. Nothing is black for the sake of it. Every material has been chosen for a reason. There's still very luxurious materials in there, but it is about watching a film. And there is a big difference between sitting for 2 or 3 hours and watching a full film and getting that full experience to 5-minute clip, 5-minute clip, 5-minute clip. And Civil War is that. You know, I love to show the first 5 minutes of Civil War. There's an incredible part. It was 90 seconds of silence. Well, how does that work if you've got a projector over your head? If you have got 40 dB directly above you, if you've got cars rattling by, if you've got any distractions at all, that scene collapses. But 90 seconds of complete silence in a room that is silent, you can't hear the ventilation. It's like, we've got a train line less than 100 meters this way. We have a train line 100 meters that way. We're in the Gatwick flight path. We've got lorries moving past. You go into that room, silent. So it's so special.
So more on that will come in further episodes, because what we've set out to do when Ben and I and Peter had this discussion originally, we basically went, what can we build and how may we build it? And then how may we measure and showcase that to be able to say, we've built this and it performs to this level of performance. Absolutely. We're not talking about a standard or an excellent world's best sort of scenario, because you can't qualify world's best. You can't sit there and say that you are the best unless you can support it. And we've never set out to say that we will be the world's best showroom or facility or experience. But what we have set out to say is that it will perform to a standard and to a specific reference. And that reference is X. And we will publish, it won't be published for public, but it will be a book that we've got on the coffee table.
Some will be public.
That will take all of the information, the pre-measurements, the post-measurements, all the stuff that's happening, and that has happened and has been measurable and tested and verified. We're going to put that into a book. And it might put some people to sleep. Absolutely.
And RP22 is such a fundamental part of Foundry, and 22 will follow. But there is a reason that these demo rooms are the size they are. You know, we had a goal, and I don't know if there's another room, another demonstration room in public, certainly anywhere, that we had a goal of every seat in that room achieving an RP22 level 4. Now, I spent months, maybe years, worried, discussing with Peter, would I ever build a level 4 room? You know, at one point we thought the criteria was so tough. The paper slightly changed. You need 2 seats in a room. So the 2 best seats in that room define its level. We could have easily built a level 4 room here with 2 seats that hit level 4, but that wasn't our target. Our target was every seat to achieve level 4. And, you know, things have changed. I still need to actually verify that where we've currently got sofas and things positioned, that's true. We will prove that in the next week or 2. But that defined everything. So why is Foundry the space it is? Why did we have a partnership with Karma here? So RP22 is an on-paper verification. Everything is done in a design stage. And a long time back now, I guess 2.5 years back, we started conversations with 2 brands who have a lot of data, who gave us the data we needed to work through that process. So we had a conversation with Perlison and we had a conversation with Ascendo, both of them at the forefront, certainly at that time, of giving us engineering data. I guess it's no coincidence. I think, it's probably intentional that they are both with Karma. So we chose Ascendo and we chose Perlison.
And went to
They'd
Karma.
independently chosen Karma. That made it easy for us to work with Karma and make a joint venture here for them to help us in this facility. So that's how we ended up with 3 partners here, because the engineering story led us that way. We couldn't go to XYZ brand. We needed brands that had the engineering data that we needed.
And frankly, Ian and the guys at Karma have said, if brand X comes along and it measures better and it is better and it performs better, and we decide to potentially switch stuff out, then that's how it may have to be.
So
the same with anything.
I
that we
struggle
do.
with the discussion of measures better. I mean, we can talk about measurements and how you read these measurements later, but if you look at what we've done here, we have used products that are fit for purpose in the best way we know how.
Absolutely.
So could a speaker technically be better than anything we've used here? Sure, that's possible. But what we've done is we understand what the product's capable of, how it's best to be used, what we can do with it. So there's no reason to swap anything out here, because we've used the right products in the right way and we've maximized the performance. So I couldn't have done that. If I'd picked a random speaker, I wouldn't know where to angle it. I wouldn't know what coverage it would do. I wouldn't know how much of the audience I'm going to get the best sound to. Because of the data we've got, that's what we've achieved. We know that, seat to seat.
One of my, I guess I can call it a pet hate, a pet dislike in the industry, is the downstairs room we use Ascendo speakers. Now, many dealers or many distributors would then on social media say, this is an Ascendo cinema. Well, no, it's not. It's like your Ferrari has some Michelin tires on it. You wouldn't go, this is a Michelin car. It's a Ferrari. The brand is Ferrari. The brand is the totality of the experience. And to me, that's what this facility is about. Downstairs happens to be Ascendo, because we did the engineering calculations and we thought, you know what? This brand is fit for purpose, fits requirements. Upstairs, it's Perlison because it fitted the requirements.
Absolutely.
And to me, the real joy of this facility in both rooms is been the ability to talk compromise with customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because neither of these rooms are uncompromised.
No.
This is a warehouse. There's a steel mezzanine. We're constrained with space. We're constrained with one day we're going to have to give this facility back, which means we've got to basically undo everything and give them back a shell. That has led us to certain construction constraints. But that's brilliant, because every project has constraints.
Sure.
It's incredibly difficult to have a completely uncompromised set of parameters. Right. And I love this facility because, we can talk about our compromises.
Yeah.
We can talk about, well, if we didn't have that compromise, how might it be better? What else could we do?
I think one of the important things that you've not mentioned and we've not mentioned is actually the vital and the pivotal role that the room plays in this. That the actual finishing, the decor, the interior, the look and the feel of the room plays in this. And that's another podcast. How many podcasts have we mentioned now? We're up to about 4 that we've already got to do.
We have a list. We have a list of 37 topics that we want to talk.
I thought it was 42.
All right, 42, 37. That's the answer.
The beauty of this, and this is where Officina Acoustica's interior comes in, is that it's modular, it's adaptable. You can change things out. We can tweak panels. We can change and play with depths. But there's a visual and there's an aesthetic and an overall experience acoustically of these rooms that really sets them apart.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because on a shared group, there was a comment this morning about some statistics saying that a percentage of installations, and I'm not sure if this is in or out of context or where that information came from, but it was that 36% of installations across the industry
It was an article in CE Pro, and I think they were talking mainly about the US market, but they did a survey of integrators to say, what is your work? What do you do? When you deliver a room, what's in it? What does it consist of? And I was shocked at that number. And the way it was worded is weird. It was almost worded as if, okay, this is good. This is increasing. Well, brilliant, it's increasing.
Highly requested
But 36% of entertainment spaces built had considered acoustics. That to me is shocking.
And that is the even more shocking part of it, is that they'd considered acoustics. They might not have implemented really good acoustics. They might not have implemented good acoustics well, because there's a vast difference between using a diffuser or an absorber or a reflector or any of those sort of panels in the right manner, in the right place. And that's the secret sauce, is pulling all of these various ingredients together. You mentioned, Nathan, and the chefing thing earlier, and you mentioned Ferrari and the bits and parts of the car. The overall experience is tantamount, and that is what we are intending to convey to the end user who comes into this facility.
Right. Well, we can talk for days about Foundry. I'd like to move on.
What else have you been doing?
So one thing, importantly, we haven't mentioned where Owen is. Owen's not here.
Yes.
So in the year that's gone by, we've been very busy. We have another great friend. There was 4 of us previously, and we originally looked to bring Tom Delicompagni into this crew, into joining us.
Timing.
We've been so busy that Owen and Tom started their own podcast. It goes out on Spotify, I believe. It's not video, is it?
No, it's not Spotify.
They've got their own YouTube channels now, but those guys have fueled this year that we have been busy and made some really great content. So
yeah.
Sorry, Owen, we are now here without you, but well done, you and Tom, for making something that's cool. So everyone, go and find that podcast. It's called the Home Cinema Design Podcast.
Cinema Design. Yeah. It's really good. And another thing that Ben and I have been doing a lot of over the last year is teaching.
We have.
We put together a course, 2 days, very immersive, really quite, well, I'll rephrase that. I don't think it's massively in depth, but it has certainly been challenging to the participants. 2 days going through a lot of the engineering stuff around RP22.
Yeah.
How have you found teaching that?
It's interesting. So it's evolved from the 4-hour course we've been teaching at ISC and Expo over the last few years, and it's grown. The 4-hour course was always designed that we gave participants a pre-drawn room that we knew had a learning exercise. There was always going to be a quirk they found or a hole that they found a problem, and that gave them the answer. How do I force someone to learn something, make them see the problem and then realize it? In this 2-day, we're now spending 2 days designing rooms. So we split people into groups and we do big rooms, small rooms, but it's really interesting. I've just taught this up in Edinburgh with a group, and part of the thing I hear, so, we've heard it, and I know, Matt and Steve tell me at CEDIA they've heard this loads, that, RP22 is just for those guys down in London building the £1 million rooms. Well, I've just spent time up in Scotland looking at, can we achieve a level 1 room? What's the lowest budget you could do this? Could you do this with 20, 30,000 pounds? Actually, where does engineering start? What is the requirement for a project for it to take an engineering focus over just a bill of materials? And that's been pretty mind-blowing for people, that this is relevant right from the beginning, right from the rooms that the industry are building. It's really interesting to see, and it's happened every single time we've taught it. I don't think there's been a single time either of us have taught this anywhere in the world, that the people who walk in most confident walk out most confident. There will be those that think they know it, they've got 20, 30 years experience, and realise that actually they're doing none of this. There'll be the quiet people that think they're okay, they're finding a way, that are doing way more of it than they realise. Because, I think we have this new breed of designer. There is an old guard that have done it the same way for 20 years, and there are people that are new onto the scene. Tom was a kitchen fitter. He is one of the most engineering-led cinema designers in the world right now. It's incredible. He has just taken it. He has gone down every rabbit hole that we've gone down. He's, a year or two behind that learning from where he started, but he is down those same rabbit holes. This doesn't need to be about people that have got 20, 30 years experience. It's about using the right resources and learning the right methods and doing it from an engineering perspective and delivering incredible rooms. And nobody, it turns out, was doing it.
I think as an outsider's perspective, having been on RP22 and authoring it and sitting on those, how about 4 years worth of calls? More. An integral part of that and understanding of it. I've not taught it though, but the feedback has been phenomenal. And I think it's, to an extent, and I might be so bold as to say it, but I think it's actually part and parcel of our industry growing up a bit, becoming professional,
100%.
Actually having something to stand behind and to be motivated for, and to be able to argue with a customer or with a client or with another technician or someone in the field or in the industry to say, actually, no, here's the maths behind it. This is how it works, and how that's been done. I thoroughly enjoyed when Peter walked in here with the bag of tools. He asked me to print off some scale size chairs and some speakers, some graphical devices, and you've broken it down into the baby elements, the real basics of the game. And I think that's a very, very powerful thing to do. How have you found that physically in classes?
It's been amazing because the cycle of the majority of integrators, whether they admit to it or not, is from sales to engineer to installation. Absolutely. There's very little that happens in the middle. And I said earlier that the downstairs cinema is not an Ascendo cinema. The upstairs cinema is not a Perlison cinema. They are engineered according to a set of engineering criteria. What we're doing is we're putting that engineering in the middle of the sales cycle, which most integrators just aren't doing. And I'm quite critical sometimes of the industry, and I say that we have to grow up beyond being a bunch of glorified retailers, because unfortunately that's what a lot of the industry are. They'll, in a meeting with a customer, talk about products, and they'll then send the customer a proposal, which is a bill of materials. The customer sends them a check, they install it. Well, where's the performance definitions? A bill of materials tells you very little. If I gave you the bill of materials for a Patek Philippe, you wouldn't know it's a Patek Philippe. If I gave you the bill of materials of a Dior dress, you wouldn't know it's a Dior dress. If I gave you the bill of materials of a Ferrari, you wouldn't even know what manufacturer that is. The individual components, of course they're critical. Of course they are critical. But the joy, the end result comes from the totality of the experience. And to me, the biggest revelation teaching these classes, and we've now probably had 110, 120 people through classes we've taught. Next week, I'm very, very privileged. I'm going to India to teach the course again, and that's going to be a full class of 30 people, which is going to be intense and absolutely brilliant. But one of the things that people walk out, because what we do is we take them through a process. That is the process that you should use. And you start with the spatial orientation of the room. The first thing I'll talk to customers about is, what are you going to use the room for? That then moves on, that then defines the seating. And once you know what the room's going to be used for, and you know what's the right kind of seating, then everything flows from there. But that's not generally how most cinema designers, how most integrators have been working. They've plowed straight into a catalogue of product, and they've talked about speakers, and they've talked about processors, and they've talked about projectors, and given the customer a bill of materials. And we're trying to take people away from that product-led discussion and towards an engineering-based discussion, where the totality of all the engineering is an experience that is predictable and is repeatable. And I think it's worked. I think that people that leave that course, people that come out of that course, end up looking not just at how they build rooms, but actually at their entire business model. People think this is an engineering course. Actually, it's as much a business strategy. how you talk about, how you present yourself as a company. What is your USP as a company? Because if all you do is talk about products, well, anyone can sell almost anything. There's very few products with such limited distribution that you've got no chance of selling it.
Yep.
So if you're basing everything around products, what's differentiating you? Where are you? When customer buys a room from me, it's a Peter Aylett room. You know, it's not an Ascendo room or a Perlison room. I know I keep coming back to those two brands only because they're the two loudspeaker top brands we have here. But I think that teaching has been revelatory to the people that have attended.
We're not branding experts. We behave as engineers and we're working to this thing. But I like to think, when we keep talking about that room, what it's not, I like to think of that room as a signature room. That is a room that three of us in Maurizio will put our name to, and it is our room. It's what we've made using those products. So it's not a Trinov room, it's not a waveforming room, it's not an Ascendo room, it's all of those things by us. So I think of that as a signature room. It's a room that's got our name on it. There are many rooms that we've built that have been done by our teams, by consultants, but these rooms are us, and that's different. So that's what I think. When I think of that room, that's what I think it is. On the training, I think it's really interesting. So and it's the same course, and I think we deliver it very slightly differently, like we leave different bits. I talk a lot about actually it being a sales course, because selling the right thing to the right client is going to get you more work down the line. If the client loves it and uses it, they'll show it to people and they'll talk about it and you'll get more work. The worst thing for me ever, and I absolutely hate it, and we try and avoid ever working with clients like the interviewing each other stage, but want a cinema for the sake of a cinema, but I've got no intention of using it. It drives me mad. Why am I putting blood, sweat and tears? We only build a few rooms a year, and our clients want those rooms because they love the experience in that room. So I hate clients that just don't care. They're buying it for the sake of it. That doesn't drive me to want to work, on that project. So we have to make rooms that people actually want to use. And this process, showing people the iteration, it seems quite Blue Peter. We're using a laminated drawing of a room and we're physically blue tacking things and moving stuff. That's really important to show that nothing is set in stone. So we lay the seats out, and then we can position a screen, and then we can position some speakers. But you might be a day into designing this room and you hit a roadblock and it doesn't work, and you've got a target and something physically doesn't work. Cool. Take it all off. Start again.
Turn it sideways.
Don't be scared to pull this whole room apart and start again. If you hit a roadblock, start again.
I had another amazing experience. I was in Dubai a few months ago, and I spent a day with two groups, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, of some very, very, very high-end Dubai-based architects and interior designers. Yep. And I'd put together some stuff, and I was a little nervous because I wanted to talk about RP22. I wanted to talk about standards. I wanted to talk about the importance of engineering. And I thought I was going to get a lot of pushback. It was completely the opposite. They didn't want me to talk about aesthetics. I mean, if I'm talking to interior designers, well, I'm not going to talk about aesthetics. That's their job. I'm going to talk about engineering. And they wanted me to talk about engineering. And many of them, when they left, said that was amazing because we just didn't know. And I think as an industry, we think interior designers and architects are awkward, obstreperous, destructive, just properly, come on, if only. But actually, no. The vast majority of them just want to do the best thing for their customers.
Absolutely.
And they wanted me to go down engineering rabbit holes.
Yep.
And I actually, because I had the little kit that we taught with, in the morning, they said, so how would you go about this? So I said, okay, let's do this. Let's actually do this. And we didn't do any of the engineering calculations, but I got my laminated sheets out and my little icons. And we talked about, and this is going to be an episode, how the more riser rows you add, the more you're compromising the experience. None of them had considered it. None of them had considered it, but all of them left that room really, really, really thought-provoked. And to me, that was amazing. And that's the power of objective engineering. That if you're just talking about products, well, products are products. When you're talking to a fellow professional, an architect, an interior designer, they are professionals, then talking standards and talking engineering is really, really powerful, and they love it. They love it.
The door is such a key part in everything we do. So also I'm going to throw a curveball to different groups. If we've got each group's doing 2 rooms, right, in this room, where do you want to put the door? You've already designed it, you've laid speakers out, you've got a finished room, draw a door on there. Because I've started off, they draw a box with no door. Someone else, right, there's your door. What are you going to do about it? Oh, I've got a speaker there, that's right in the way of a seat, or I've got no walkway now. Right, what are you going to do about it? And one of the things that I think RP22 really does is actually empowers us to have sensible conversations with the other partners on the project. There's a floor plan. Right, we're 2 years out from this building being made. If I can move this door 6 feet down that wall, it's going to be beneficial to the experience in this reason, this reason, this reason. I'm not asking to move it for the sake of it. I'm asking to move it because there's an engineering reason. And
We need to wrap up, mate. We like talking, but that's fine. We've got a lot to talk about. We've done a lot this year. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to talk about? Oh yeah, this is also really cool that I've done in the last year.
Well, I think there's lots of those thoughts because we have done a lot in the last year. We've learned a lot. We've spent a lot of time on the tools. We've spent a lot of time being salesmen. We've spent a lot of time engineering things. We've spent a lot of time painting and decorating.
We've got some very cool projects in progress.
We've got some amazing things to come. And I think there are some amazing topics for future podcasts.
And on the subject of amazing topics for future podcasts, please, if anyone has got any questions, because what we're going to be doing is, maybe 1 every 4, 1 every 5 podcasts, we're going to be doing a Q&A, and we want questions from you. So if anyone's got any questions, please send them to the link that's below. If you're listening to this on audio, I'm getting all YouTube content here.
I was just going to say, are you going to point up to the corner of the screen and down to the left?
Yeah. Next, you're going to decide it's gone on Spotify and YouTube, and it's here and it's there. I mean, we'll work all that out later.
We'll figure that out. But have a think about a bunch of questions that you might want for us, and we will do our best to answer them. We're probably going to be doing between 1 and 2 of these a month. It's not going to be super regular. Hey, we've got day jobs, we've got rooms to build. But we are now, promise, going to continue with this, do it more regularly. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Cheers.
See you on the other side.
Bye.
Cool.
Where's that clapper thing? Is that a wrap?
Oh, crap. I've got to press record.
Ah.
There's a timestamp. One thing